In this video, we will discuss about the art, culture, and the education given during the Gupta period. So that we will discuss in this video, and why the Gupta Empire was known as a golden age of Indian history. That also we will study in this chapter. So first of all, you should see the paragraph given there. The Gupta period is described as a golden age of Indian culture because of high-level civilization. So the standard of living and the prosperity also shows the level of civilization. So it is assured, it is proved that it was a good civilization, good living of the people there in the Gupta Empire. And culture of this period, along with the revival of Hinduism, the power of creativity was unleashed in the field of education, literature, art, architecture, and science. So when I talk about the revival of Hinduism, this means that since the Gupta rulers, Chandragupta, Samudragupta, Vikramaditya, and other rulers, they were the followers of Hinduism. They had a belief in the Hindu god like Vishnu. So again there was a revival of Hinduism after the Jainism and Buddhism. So this is the comeback of a Hinduism culture. This period also saw the extension of this influence beyond the Indian frontier. So this means that the development were not only seen in the Indian background, but it was also seen in the nearby boundary of the Indian region. Now coming to the education, during the Gupta age, education was given utmost importance. This is evident from the intellectual output. Intellectual output, that means various work which came out, various specific work like in the science, mathematics. The people came with their specific research work, that is what called as intellectual output in various field. So it happened in the area like literature. There were so many books written down. The poets and the dramatists were there who has given their wonderful work. So this is what here: science, mathematics, astronomy, astrology, and medicine. So these are the area where the different work were done. And the education basically were given in the important city. These cities were known for its learning, that was Patliputra, Vallabhi, Ujjain, Ayodhya, and Nasik. So these important cities were known for the learning. And then you will come to know about the basic features of the Gupta Acharya or the teacher used to perform there. So as I told, these are the important centers of learning, that is Patliputra, Vallabhi, Ujjain, Ayodhya, and Nasik. Now how the learning process happened: the teachers were learned Brahmanas known as Acharya and Upadhyay, sometimes as called Bhatts. So we also know that the giving of education was only the reserved right of the Brahmin class people. Right from the Vedic era, right from the Vedic age, the upper class people, that is the Brahmanas, they had reserved this right of getting knowledge and imparting the education. So these Brahmanas teachers were known as Acharya, Upadhyaya, and Bhatts. Second point: the teacher or Acharya were given the fees in the form of agraharas. It was given by Gupta rulers and general public. So the maintenance of this system of education has to be provided by some revenue. So the agrahara, that was a kind of a donation given by the king, the ruler of those kingdom or those area, plus the people in general, they used to donate for the education. Then number 3, the students were called Shesya. The students were known by the term Shesyas, and they had to learn the 14 section of science. So altogether 14, the syllabus included the 14 parts of science comprising 4 Vedas, 6 Vedanga, the sub part of Vedangas, the Puranas, the Mimamsa, Nyaya, and Dharma. So overall they had to get these various ideas of the education. Then number 4, they also had to get the knowledge of the Vyakaran, that was Ashtadhyayi by the Panini. So these are the main syllabus, and apart from that they also had to get this Vyakaran and Shastra Shastri, that is the Samhita, that is the part of the Mahabharata. So these are the basic knowledge, plus they should have the side knowledge about the Vyakaran and the Mahabharata, because in the Mahabharata also there are many things given for the practical knowledge. There were different methods applied for giving education, like Buddhist monastery admitted students for 10 years. So every education system have a different mode of education. So that time the period for education was 10 years, in which the Buddhist monastery used to admit the student for complete 10 years, and during this 10 years the learning was given, the education was imparted. Now learning first initiated orally by repeating. So in the first stage the acharya or the guru used to speak, and the children, the student, used to repeat after them. Later they shifted by reading of literature text. So later on they start giving the education to read the books, the manuscript, because that time it was a written document that was asked the student to read about. There was a library provided where manuscripts were copied and just stored. So the library was provided during that time, and in where the important books, the manuals, were kept, and for reference it was used. Number 4, the students from other countries came to get education, like China, Southeast Asia, and other part. So not only Indian student, but the student from the far away, the nearby country, they also come here to get the education. So it is example has been given in your book. China, Southeast Asia student also approached. Now these monasteries where education was imparted was maintained by the king. We have already discussed. So these monasteries, since the great amount of education was given in a different field, different area, different section, so the money was also required. So everything was maintained by the king and the rich merchant class people. There were two important universities which you will read in your book. So that was Nalanda University and the Takshila University. Though the Takshila University, it was established before the Gupta Empire, and the Nalanda is very much important, which is rightly in the Bihar, which is very much famous, that you have studied also. And you will, when you will come to this, you will read about it, what are the specific features of the Nalanda. So it is located in Rajgir in Bihar, and the source of information we get it from the visit of the Hinsung, a Chinese Buddhist scholar who visited during the rule of Harshvardhan. So this is what given here, the source of information, that Hinsung, when he visited the Harshvardhan period, then he saw the Nalanda University where the education was imparted. So this is what given regarding the Nalanda. Now coming to the features, number 1, the university had an imposing building having 8 colleges built by different patrons, like we get the example of Balputra Deva, the king of Sumatra. So the university had a big building, and the 8 colleges were there inside that campus, and each building was dedicated, was made by the important people, like the king used to give the money for making of these buildings. Number 2, the whole university area was enclosed by a brick wall. So for the security and the protection, the area was enclosed. It was boundary was made, and that was made by the brick wall. And there were 3 great libraries. So this is what given there, that is your Ratna Sagar, Ratnadahi, and your it's a Ratna Ranjang. So these are the 3 important libraries given there in the Nalanda University. Number 4, there were more than 10,000 students and teachers who came from Korea, Mongolia, Japan, China, Tibet, Ceylon, and various parts of India. So the number of students that is mentioned there, it's about 10,000 students, and these students were not only of the Indian background, they belong to the other parts like Korea, Mongolia, Japan, China, Tibet, Ceylon. So these are the names of the places where the student came from. Then the student learned all the 4 Vedas. So what were the things given there to learn? So that was Vedas, all the 4 Vedas that you have studied about. Then the logic, grammar, medicine, Sankhya, yoga, and the Nyaya. So these are the areas, these were the syllabus for the student to study. Now next is what your Nalanda University was a postgraduate institution where admission was very difficult. So as you know, there is a master degree, as we have now PhD and later on. So that time also there was a graduation and the post graduation. So Nalanda was the post graduation, and admission was very difficult. Number 7, you will see an examination was held before the admitting the student. Why? As we have the test in the different institution, so was there in the Nalanda University also. There was a test conducted where only the 20% of student used to pass, as such a difficult examination was there. So the passing for the student was very difficult. Only the brilliant student can only get the education over there. Now when you will study the science and other things, It's given that science in Gupta period, Varamira, he was a great astronomer, and you can see he was a great astronomer. He proved that moon rotates around the earth and earth rotates around the sun. So as the Copernicus has given the theory regarding the earth rotation and the revolution of the moon and other things, so that was also given Varamira during the Gupta period only. Then the second is your Brihad Samhita. It deals with the astronomy, botany, natural history, and the physical geography. This is a book where the Varamira has written, and he has given about the theory, what he has observed and found. The second was a Brahmagupta. He was a mathematician and astronomer. He described the law of gravitation before the Newton. So what the European field, there was a discovery and exploration was going on, so that was already given, but we didn't have the search proof or the written account. That was a problem there. So this is what given here. Now further we come to know the scientific study of the metals had reached an advanced stage, that is the iron pillar at Mehrauli near Qutub Minar in New Delhi. So this iron pillar in Mehrauli, we know the iron get rust when it comes in contact with the air and water, but the metallurgy work, they had the scientific knowledge how this metal worked and remain in an open environment. This we can get the example with the iron pillar, which is same as exactly as earlier. There is no rust there. Then Chark and Sushruta were the famous scholar of Ayurveda. So these discoveries and exploration work were done in the science field. Now coming to your literature, that it's given there in your page number 65. You will see the Gupta age constitute an important phase in the history of Sanskrit literature. It replaced Prakrit not only in the inscription but also in the religious and philosophical literature. So earlier Prakrit was used in the Buddhism period, but it was replaced again, and the Sanskrit took its main supreme part. Okay, so all the everything document, official and unofficial, were everything written down in the Sanskrit language. Sanskrit became the language of the learned and retained its supreme position for thousands of years. So it retained that it was accepted, and it continued to be used for 1000 year, more than that. So Gupta made Sanskrit official language for administrative purpose. Sanskrit was used in official document as well as in inscription. The classical Sanskrit literature that flowered during the Gupta period consisted of epics, poetry, drama, lyrics, and prose. So these are the areas where in Sanskrit it was written down. The drama, the poetry, everything were written down in Sanskrit. Both religious and secular literature existed side by side. The Gupta age was distinguished by the number of writers whose contribution vastly enriched the different branches of Indian literature. These included Kalidas, Sudraka, Bhasa, Harisena, Dandin, Subandhu, and Bharavi. So but the most shining light was the course of the Kalidas, so that we should understand with his whatever the work that he has done, that you will study. It was a great work which he has done. Kalidas is regarded as the greatest and the greatest poet and a playwright India had ever produced. So this is what given here about the Kalidas. He was as Shakespeare is famous there in the European countries, so was Kalidas famous here in India. So this is what given here in your book. The three dramatic work of Kalidas were Vikramo Varshiyam, Malvika Agnimitram, and Abhijanan Shakuntalam. These are the dramatic, the playwright work done by the Kalidas. His dramatic work Abhijanan Shakuntalam narrates the love story of the Dushyant and Shakuntala, whose son Bharat later became the ruler. So this Abhijanan Shakuntalam, this is a dramatic playwright in which the love story of the Dushyant and Shakuntala has been written down, and how his son Bharat became the ruler of India, that is mentioned in that book. Now the Meghduta, that is the cloud messenger, is equally an outstanding lyrical poetic work. So this is the poetic form of the work done by the Kalidas, and this is as a cloud, how the cloud become the messenger and gives the relevant messages. That is work given in the form of a poem. Then your next is your Malvika Agnimitram, in which Kalidas has made the hero. The Chandragupta Vikramaditya has been now portrayed as a hero in this book. It was written to commemorate the marriage of his daughter Prabhavati with Rudrasena. All the work of Kalidas, especially the dramatic work, have been translated into many major languages of the world. So here in this book Malvika Agnimitram, when you will see, it was dedicated to Vikramaditya, Chandragupta Vikramaditya, in which his daughter Prabhavati, how she was married to Rudrasena, that was given more importance and written down in the book. Although the subject matter of Kalidas' work, love, nature, and beauty, they nevertheless give reliable information about the government, society, and religion of the Gupta period. So, though Kalidas' work generally is based on love, nature, and beauty, but it is not that we don't get information about the government or the political system. The reliable, that means sufficient information, is also there regarding the political and other thing. This is about the literature, and the one thing we would like to just discuss about your one of the temple, that is the Vishnu temple in the field of architecture, how it was very much important. So here you will see that the Vishnu temple, also known as the Dasavatara temple, is one of the finest example of the Gupta architecture. So when we talk about the architecture, one temple name is mentioned in your book, that is your Dasavatara temple. And where it is located? It is located in 125 km from Jhansi in Uttar Pradesh. So it is one of the earliest Hindu stone temples. So this, the material to be used in this temple is what? Stone. That is why it is said, and first North Indian temple with shikhar or tower. So this is the North Indian temple having, the first North Indian to have a tower, the top portion of the temple, that is called shikhar. So although part of it has disappeared, though with these many years some part has been just destroyed, so in spite of its dilapidated condition, the temple has a compelling presence. It was completely made of stone and bricks. So again I would like to tell you, it's the things which were used, that is what? Stone and bricks. The temple was built on a 1.5 meter high platform. So it was not directly made on the ground, some platform was made, and the height of that platform was what? 1.5 meter. On above on that, it was, the temple was made. 4 stairways outside the platform provided access to the temple. So there were 4 stairways to come up to the platform, and then they can further move for the temple. Its exterior is decorated with the scenes from Ramayana. So the outer wall of the temple, the Ramayana scenes are created there. The entrance and pillars were adorned with the countless painting and carving. So the outside, the everything is decorated with the painting and the carving, and that is all. The themes are based on what? The Ramayana. It is dedicated to Lord Vishnu, the god of preservation. So this, in this temple, the god which is presented here is Lord Vishnu. And how he is shown? He is shown as asleep on the coil of the giant serpent called Sheshnag. So there was an outer wall around the temple. So surrounding wall also there is a just a boundary which encloses the temple. So this is what given here regarding all the chapter about. So read the chapter, go through it, and make the sufficient notes for it. Thank you.